What's up guys, my name is Elle and welcome to or back to the Coffee Shop Project. Now that we've visited over 10 coffee shops, it's time to move past reviewing shops based on their aesthetics and branding and focus on the various kinds. Today we're kicking that off by evaluating 2 shops based on what makes a craft coffee shop. The 5 components of a craft coffee shop are baristas who are knowledgeable about all aspects of the coffee they are creating, manual brewing methods such as a pour over, a small menu board that might be difficult for non-coffee connoisseurs to understand, a retail space selling not only their shop's merch, but craft coffee equipment, and finally, latte art. With that in mind, don't forget to subscribe down below, and without further ado, let's get into our first shop. Levercraft Coffee featured all but one of the 5 components of a craft coffee shop, missing only latte art. The first thing that I noticed was a concise menu board followed by manual brewing methods created by the owner Eric himself from old lever machines, which they were kind enough to let me take a look at and film for you guys. The shop also had a storefront where you could buy roasts and occasionally some of the lever machines themselves. Finally, my barista was incredibly knowledgeable and excited to tell me all about the shop, giving us a grand total of 4 out of the 5 components of a craft coffee shop. I am so excited to be starting our morning off with Levercraft Coffee in Austin, Texas. I was drawn to this shop because of the owner's story. He describes himself as a coffee nerd and he is a little bit of a tinkerer. He likes to take old lever machines and repurpose them to make amazing coffee combinations, one of them being in our lineup today, and it is called the Freddo. This foam here isn't made from just whipping milk, it's made from an old milkshake machine, and I was shocked to find out that it is skim milk. The machine works so well that it can make it this light, airy foam. The barista was so excited to tell me about it. He was making the drink, which is one of the key indicators of a craft coffee shop. We're not gonna wait any longer to try this because I don't want the foam to melt because it is hot, so we are just gonna jump right in. We're gonna taste for the foam first and then really dive into the coffee after. I cannot believe they made that out of skim milk. A little bit of a cold brew got in there, but then it's just like this light, fluffy texture. You could eat it with a spoon. It's so thick. This is gonna be kind of gross, but I'm just gonna stick my finger in it to show you because it's my drink. Like, look, it makes a dent in there. It's so thick. Now I'm gonna swish it around a little bit and hopefully get a little bit more taste of the cold brew itself, which is a nitro cold brew. Together, that's spectacular. It's the perfect combination of like a denser texture, almost like a milkshake, because it's the milkshake machine. Connected that a little bit with the nice airy cold brew. Perfect combination on a hot summer day. Moving on, we have an Espresso Lemonade, which is kind of like the coffee soda that I always come back to. I don't like it, but I want to like it in the worst way, and I love lemonade. So when I found out they had an Espresso Lemonade, I'm like, okay, one more try. And a way that they have enhanced this at Levercraft is that they have a special bean that they pair with it to make it taste better with the tonic water, the lemonade, and then the espresso. So I have high hopes. Maybe this will be our golden ticket with it. It's my favorite so far. Like this, they're right, the roast in there pairs so well that it tastes strongly of lemonade, but there is espresso. They've nailed this. I need to figure out how they make it and make it back at home. I could actually finish this, and I'm not just saying that. We've moved on to Cherrywood Coffee, which is super fun because there's food trucks over here, awesome patio seating to my right, and then from the pictures online, there's a fabulous coffee bar inside. Let's go check it out. Cherrywood Coffee House featured only 2 components of a craft coffee shop, being clear signage and latte art, which wasn't on my drink, but I did see it featured on their Instagram page. Craft coffee components aside, this shop had a cozy ambiance and a super friendly staff and amazing patio seating, which is perfect for fall in Texas. Now we've moved on to Cherrywood Coffee Shop in the Garden District of Austin. Now when I went in, I really thought, is this a craft coffee shop? I reviewed the principles that I talked about in our last shop, and to be honest, I really don't think it is, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. The barista described it as more of a mom and pop shop with amazing regulars, cool community events like live music, and even a local trivia night. Today at this shop, we got their house cold brew because the barista said it was her hands down favorite, and then we got a Cortadito, which is kind of like the Cortado that we got a couple weeks ago in Ascension, and it has almond milk, espresso, and a little bit of sugar, which Ascension didn't have. Ascension was a little bit bitter, so I think this will sweeten it up. The first drink we're gonna try is the Cortadito. I saved it as my last at Ascension and it got cold, so I wanted to have it while it's still hot. And if we really look at it, there is no latte art in there, which is another indicator that it's not a craft coffee shop. Now, no shade there, I can't do latte art either, and I'm sure it's gonna be delicious anyway. And that's a lot better in my opinion than the one at Ascension because the strong espresso still really comes through, but it's not so bitter. It's almost sweetness. The sugar goes a long way. Now we're moving on to the barista's choice of the cold brew, which is 1 part cold brew concentrate that was steeped overnight paired with 3 parts water. Because my book doesn't have any pages about tasting cold brew, I'm gonna use the 4 principles of coffee tasting on it. Again, that's body, sweetness, acidity, and then overall flavor notes. We're gonna start by smelling it for sweetness. You can actually really smell the sweetness, which I think is interesting. I thought that it would only work with the hotness because like the aromas are different. I don't know the science of it, but now we're gonna give it a taste. It has a watery body as expected, then moves on to have an initial sweetness, and then the acidity really hits on either side of your tongue. And then the overall flavor notes is kind of like the Pike's coffee that I make back at home. The barista made a good choice for us. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching the Coffee Shop Project Austin. I hope you learned a little bit about what makes a craft coffee shop and the drinks they served. If you've been watching the Coffee Shop Project, you probably noticed there weren't 3 shops this week. I filmed a 3rd shop, Cuvée Coffee, which was definitely a craft coffee shop, but unfortunately I had some technical difficulties and lost the footage. So if you'd like to see an Austin Part 2 featuring Cuvée Coffee and another shop or 2, comment down below some suggestions, and while you're there, I would love if you would consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!